Hi, I'm Barb Culver, President of Resonate Inc. Thanks for joining me today. The topic I want to talk with you about is funding IRAs. Now, it may seem like an odd time of year to be creating this recording since tax season has just come to a close. However, it's most important to fund IRAs as early in the year as possible so that you can receive the maximum benefit from these strategies. So I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the complexity of the world of IRAs, which includes Roth IRAs, deductible IRAs, and non-deductible IRAs. With people living longer, it's increasingly important to be disciplined about your retirement savings. This is in addition to whatever you're currently saving in an employer-sponsored retirement plan. The world of IRAs and Roth IRAs actually is very complex and give you a lot of planning opportunities. Here are a few for your consideration. The first basic decision that you want to make is whether you want to fund a traditional deductible IRA, a Roth IRA, or a non-deductible IRA. Because there are income limits as to whether or not you can fund the traditional IRA or the Roth IRA, that's the first thing you need to know. You need to know about your income to know what you're eligible for. If you're not eligible to fund a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, you can fund a non-deductible IRA, and I'll explain why you might want to do that later in this presentation. Now, if you can fund either a traditional IRA or a Roth IRA, there are times that you might purposefully choose one over the other. For example, as you know, there is no income tax deduction for funding a Roth IRA. But the huge benefit that the Roth IRA offers over a traditional deductible IRA is that in addition to tax-deferred growth, all income that you take out of a Roth IRA comes out income tax-free. This can be an extremely important part of your overall retirement tax planning strategies. And that's one of the points I'd like to make very clear today. Deciding what you want to do about an IRA is not an isolated decision. The best way to make the decision is to coordinate the options you have about funding IRAs with the rest of the retirement planning that you're doing. So for example, if you are only able to participate in a deductible plan at work, which means that everything you take out of that is eventually going to be taxable income to you, then funding a Roth with discretionary income might make great sense, because even though you're giving up the current income tax deduction, later on in retirement, you can receive a blend of taxable and tax-free income. Here's another tax planning strategy. If your income is too high to fund a traditional deductible IRA, you can fund a non-deductible form of an IRA. Now, the idea behind this is that you can then convert the money that is in the non-deductible IRA to a Roth, which could be a potentially valuable strategy for many high-income taxpayers. There are no income limits on the conversions. Income taxes are due at the time of the conversion. But once you get that money converted to a Roth, you will continue to enjoy the benefits of both tax-deferred growth and be able to ultimately receive tax-free income from the Roth. Again, it simply makes sense to work with a planning professional to see whether or not this option is appropriate for you. Now that people are continuing to work longer, in addition to living longer, making ongoing contributions to either traditional IRAs or Roth IRAs makes great sense. While it's true that the IRA contributions made later in life have less time to benefit from the tax-deferred growth, the tax deductibility of the traditional IRA may still be a very valuable planning benefit. Please remember that while you cannot fund traditional IRAs past the age of 70 and a half, you can contribute to a Roth at any age, as long as you have sufficient earned income to cover the contribution amount, and that you don't have too much income, which would disqualify you from funding the Roth. So, like the other presentations I've shared with you, one of the things that we try to do is help you understand information specific to that day's topics. But in addition, we also want you to appreciate how these various topics are linked, and the way that you can get the greatest benefit from the ideas that we share is to be sure that you are coordinating and blending these ideas with your overall retirement planning strategies. We'd love to have the opportunity to talk with you and help you think through what will help create the very best plan for you and those that you love most in this world. Thanks again for your time today in joining me for this presentation.